And Katie, now can you see when people join or are in the waiting room or not? Okay, your sound is off.
No, I can't see.
Okay, so I'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. So hopefully nobody's waiting. But welcome everybody on this call, and we'll talking about clarifying your message. And feel free to like your mics probably please mute them because that makes it a little bit easier in experience. Unless you have a question, and we really encourage you to ask us lots of questions because we have a smaller group this morning. So you can either just unmute your microphone when we get to the Q&A section, or you can also put that in the chat box as well, which again is another way that you can ask questions. And if we don't get around to it, answering those questions right away, we'll just do that when we get into our Q&A session. So okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this next slide here because I think most people know what we do. But in a nutshell, we build websites and we help our clients with their marketing overall, but especially with their digital marketing because that's really where a lot of the action is, of course. So that's Edge. If you have any more questions about that, by all means, you can ask us at any time. So this session on clarifying your message is actually part of a 4-step digital marketing plan, that process that we follow here at Edge with most of our clients. So as you can see, we believe that having a clear message to your audience, to your clients, is really the foundation of your overall marketing. And things like what problem do you solve for your clients, by focusing on that first and trying to figure that out, because that seems a very obvious question, but oftentimes we need to dig a little deeper what the problem is that you're really solving for your clients. So this session is really foundational, because if you once you develop a clear message for your organization or your product or service, all the other communications that you're going to provide to your clients are going to be a lot easier because they kind of flow out of this central marketing message. So this is really an important first step. Now, some of the other steps that most organizations need to take are the second step would be your website, like a lead generating website that's really works well for your organization and gains more clients for you. You can have a beautiful website, but nobody can find it, for example, or people land on it and there's actually nothing really for them to do, like no clear call to action. Then of course it's still a bit of a waste. So we help our clients with that as well. And so then the third step is to actually attract more clients. So then paid advertising is really big these days, of course, through Google and Facebook. Search engine optimization is very important. Again, really making sure that your website is visible when people are searching for your product or service. And then content marketing and social media, which again is a huge area for a lot of businesses. The fact that we are doing these webinars is part of our content marketing strategy, because we know that there's a lot of people they want to educate themselves on how to do marketing and how to attract new clients. And like a content that you create for your business is really where a lot of action is right now. So again, we'll be talking about it a little bit more, not so much in this session, but maybe in the future session. And then of course the fourth step would be to actually nurture leads instead of just not everybody's ready to buy today. So it's important to stay in touch with our clients so we can kind of help them along the path from getting to know you, trusting you, and actually doing business with you. So that's a process. And I think one of the problems with marketing overall, or what we see with a lot of small businesses, is we are trying to jump to the sales, closing the deal kind of a stage without forgetting with forgetting the steps that kind of go in between that. So that's a little bit of an overview. So some of the other topics we'll definitely touch on those in different webinars probably in the future. But if you have any other questions about any of that, during this session, by all means, this is a perfect opportunity to ask any question. So what are we going to talk about this morning? Well, we're going to talk about communication challenges for organizations and small business. What are they? What can we do to make things better? We talk about the importance of clear communication. There's still a few people here coming in here, so I just got to keep my eye on this waiting room here. So the importance of clear communication, like if you do get this right, like what are some of the benefits for your organization? Then Katie, and I didn't introduce Katie yet here. Katie works at Edge, and she's our content strategist and our copywriter. So she will talk about the actual, like how do you do that? Like what is a step-by-step method that you can implement for your own business. So, and that's what we use here at Edge. It's based on the work from Donald Miller, building a story brand, and Katie will explain much more about that. And then at the end, we'll get a document that's called the brand script, which is really like kind of a shorthand for what your corporate message is or your marketing message is. So, and then after that, hopefully we'll have lots of time for Q&A. So yeah, let's get started here. And welcome again, everybody, if you just joined recently. So what are some of the marketing communication challenges that a lot of our clients and maybe including yourself run into? Well, one of the biggest challenges, of course, in marketing these days is the information overload that a lot of people are experiencing. On average, everybody receives over 3,000 commercial messages a day, which seems excessive, but that's probably not too far off. So what happens with all these messages that we get, in order for us to survive, we filter through those messages and make sure that we only focus on the ones that are actually relevant to us. So in communication, it's really important that we zoom in on a message that actually resonates with our clients, and that's what this process is all about. Another problem that we see with a lot of small businesses is the curse of knowledge, and we're not exempt to that either. So what does that mean? Well, you know your business extremely well. You know what you're doing for sure. But in our communication with our clients, sometimes we become too technical, or we assume that they know things that they don't know. And again, like we had an example here just very recently that I talked to a client about SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, and that's very obvious to me. But when I brought it up during the presentation, then I got the question, well, what does that mean? So, I mean, that was a good learning opportunity for me to say, yeah, like I need to translate that into something that kind of makes sense to clients. And I believe you need to do the same thing, because your customers are not the experts in the field. And that's because that's the reason why they come to you, and you can help them guide along the way. So that's a bit of a challenge. So once you're aware of that, then you can rethink that and think what are some of the words that our clients would use to describe these things. Another challenge is confusion that we have in our communication, especially when it comes to marketing messages. Another saying in marketing is a confused customer says no. If we are not sure about the offer that you have, our first gut instinct is to say no. And again, that has to do with our ability to survive. Like if we're not sure that this is going to benefit us or help us survive and thrive, our automatic default reaction is to say no. So we need to get past that and have a very clear message that resonates with our clients. Another thing is often overlooked is that most people buy with emotions. And again, that seems even if you're in a business-to-business world, it seems almost irrational, but that's actually, it's proven over and over. And if you think about all the good advertising and marketing that you see around you that actually works and has worked for hundreds of years, is the messages that actually connect with our inner being and our emotions. Our emotions are an extremely powerful force. And again, once you can tap into that source with your clients, you're going to have much better success or of connecting with them than you're just having to, like try to convince them with rational arguments. For example, if we would all be rational beings, we would all drive a Toyota Corolla because that's the most sensible vehicle in the world. And but the reality is we don't. We all have kind of have different vehicles, and we try to rationalize it maybe in our own minds, but really those most of the vehicles that you drive are based on your emotional decision that you made, if you're really honest with yourself. So that's something that's a fact, and as marketers, we just need to be aware of that and make sure that we understand how to speak to that. And I'm not saying we need to manipulate people with messages that are not valuable to them, but it's just knowing that that they make their decisions with their emotions is a very important part of marketing communication. For the people that joined us a little later, feel free to type in any chat questions that you have in the chat box. We'll get to a Q&A section here in a little bit, so we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts and comments, and see how we can guide you along and hopefully answer those questions for you. So what are some of the benefits of a clear marketing message? Well, like once you go through the process and actually figure it out, what it is. The right message to the right audience, and generally with the right medium as well. That's the third component. Is of course what marketing communication is all about. I mean, if people, when they hear your message, you talk to their emotions, you appeal to the problem that you're really solving for them. Those are the best marketing messages because again, people are emotional beings and they will respond to that. They understand that. I mentioned this earlier already, but the marketing message that you develop will form the foundation of all your other communication that you're doing, like on social media, on your website, on your printed materials. So once you and your team, and then that's oftentimes another added benefit as well, when you go through this process, you can actually put your team all on the same page as well. Because depending on the size of your organization, there's people that may have joined you just recently that may actually not 100% understand the central theme or the marketing message of your organization. So this process could really help. First of all, for yourself to clarify this, but also for other people that are just learning about your organization to actually be part of that exploration phase. So again, I can't stress this enough. Once you do this right, you're in a much better position to actually develop some of that content. And again, a lot of our clients are struggling with creating content, and I get it. Like they're small business owners. They're not writers, although they have a lot of knowledge and experience. So again, that's a real struggle for some of them to come up with content for social media. That's a question we get asked a lot. With something like this, by developing this central theme in your writing, you're going to be in a much better space to develop really valuable content that your clients actually will want to read. And that's really the key, I think, in content marketing right now, to offer something of value that that interests them, right? Like nobody's waiting for somebody to sell them anything. We all, again, we're very good at spotting that. So as soon as you become too salesy in marketing these days, people are going to tune out and it's not going to really help you a whole lot. So the best marketer always wins, and that's the sad reality sometimes, because I see a lot of great businesses that have fantastic products or services, but because of their marketing and the way they present themselves with their communication, don't really, the story they tell their clients is not really the story that they offer, and that's sometimes if you're competing with another company and they do their messaging and their marketing better than you do, they probably win, because it doesn't matter if the product is better or the service is better or your product is better. People are gonna respond to a company that does this right. So the last benefit, I guess, is, like I said earlier, like if you do this with a team, you can actually build kind of a team spirit as well, and say, hey, like we understand what we're trying to do for our clients, and give your team a deeper meaning of why you do what you do. So that's an added benefit as well. Okay, so now we get to the actual framework that we have used successfully for our clients, and that you can use successfully for your clients as well. So now again, it's built on the StoryBrand by Donald Miller. We have adapted it somewhat because, just like any other framework, we have our own input as well, and your own processes. But this is a really good, clear 7-step plan that you can take, and it's actually based on a movie script. Now, again, I'm probably going to date myself by bringing up this Sound of Music, but because it's Christmas time, this is a movie that a lot of people have watched for the last 50 years, believe it or not. It's the most watched movie of all times. And so hopefully some of you actually have watched this movie or will do so this Christmas season. But I'm just going to walk through the steps of the 7 steps, and Katie will give you much more detail about what that really means for a small business or an organization. But if you look at most movies, they have a very predictable kind of a storyline. So the story goes something like this. So there's a hero that has a problem. Now in the Sound of Music, that's of course Maria. Maria is not sure what to do with her life. She's very confused. She just doesn't know what to do, and people are left wondering, well, what is going to happen to Maria? So then the next step you see in the movie, she meets a guide, and again, that's very typical in a lot of movies. Somebody comes alongside to speak some wisdom to her, and that's one of the nuns at the convent in The Sound of Music. So this person is the guide for Maria to help her to make better decisions and actually solve her problem. So then the third step in the movie script is generally a call to action. So now what? So Maria gets the advice to actually, we're talking about Baron von Trapp, which is another main character in the movie. And she gets the advice, well, maybe she should go back to Baron von Trapp and his family. Maybe that's the best thing for you to do. So again, that's very important as well to have a clear call to action, X's call to action. So then, of course, after that, there's a lot of things happening in the movie, in the script. There's a lot of obstacles that they need to navigate to get to the end result. Including the like the Nazis and some other villains that try to derail their plans. But at the end, they come up with success. They are able to escape Austria, and the whole family is singing "The Hills Are Alive." So that's kind of the successful outcome of that movie. So why am I telling a story about this movie? Well, the framework that Katie is going through follows a very similar order, and one of the reasons we believe the StoryBrand works for businesses is because people love stories, and they just can't help but get involved in that story, and that's such a powerful a method of getting your message across, instead of just talking about the benefits or anything like that. Like if you can actually invite people into the story, you'll have a much higher chance to actually be successful in communicating your marketing message and actually get a favorable reaction from your clients. So with that, I'm just gonna hand it over now to Katie to walk us through the 7 steps.
So the great thing about the StoryBrand framework is, like Peter had mentioned earlier, is that people are so overloaded with messages that they start to tune out and even kind of start to daydream. And the way to kind of break people out of that kind of zoned out daydream state is to actually tell them a story, invite them into a story, which is the story of your brand. So with that, you want to kind of adjust the kind of movie script for your brand, which actually works pretty great. So with the brand script, there are actually 7 steps that you want to kind of go through. The first step is kind of identifying the main character of your story, who is actually your customer and not your business. This does kind of take a little bit of adjusting in the brain for a lot of companies, because you kind of think, well, I'm the one providing the product, that we're telling the customer about us. We actually want to kind of adjust how we're thinking in regards to the story brand, to just kind of focus on the character, which is your customer. And then we also kind of want to connect with them on an emotional level. So we kind of want to identify what their problem is. A little later on, I'll kind of talk about, there's actually 3 different levels of problems that your customer has that you need to identify. And then, so with this, for the hero, we kind of want to dig into who your customer is. You kind of want to create like a persona, or kind of overarching kind of general group of who your customers are. So you kind of want to feel out who they want to become based on the product or service your company provides, and kind of what characteristics do they want to gain? How do they want to be perceived by the world? And we also kind of want to see what they want. By identifying what they want, we kind of pique their interest and kind of draw them into the story of your brand. Now, what they want should be in relation to your brand, so that should be your product or service. So yeah, so once we can identify kind of who your hero is, we want to look at what their problem is. By identifying their problem, you're kind of creating an emotional connection with them. With the problem, there are actually 3 problems that your customer is experiencing. So there is first the external problem, the physical, obvious problem that they're having. So they're lacking something, they're lacking your product or service. And then based on the external problem, you want to identify the internal. So the internal is the emotional problem that they're experiencing. What emotions are they experiencing without your product or service? This could be frustration, confusion, they just feel tired. So the internal problem is probably one of the key problems that you want to focus on, because it is connecting with emotion, the main drive for making a purchase. And then the last problem we want to identify for your customer is the philosophical problem. So why is it just so wrong that they're experiencing this? This kind of ties into the greater good and bad of the world. The philosophical problem is actually great for not-for-profits to kind of focus on, just because they do kind of automatically tie into that greater good and bad of the world. So why is it just so bad that these people are experiencing this? So once we kind of identify who and what your customer wants and experiences, we can introduce your company as the guide. So as the guide, you're kind of going to guide your customer through how you are going to be able to help them. So by establishing yourself as the guide, you want to create empathy and authority. So with empathy, you want to, again, create that connection, build on that connection with your customer through your messaging. You kind of want to say how you can relate to what they're going through. So kind of examples of would be using language like "we understand" or "we too have experienced," just to kind of build on like, yeah, we've been there, we understand. So if we understand, we can actually fix your problem. The next, we want to establish authority as a guide. So we want to kind of create trust with the customer, why they should do business with us, why they can trust to do business with us. So you can, this is your knowledge and experience. And so with establishing authority in your messaging, you can include how many people you've helped, or even awards, recognitions, or even including testimonials. Like you can use from Google Ads, or you can have your previous customers write up testimonials that you can use as well. Now, as a guide, you are a secondary character in this story. So you don't want to go overboard with how great your company is, the history. You, of course, can add in more information on your company on other communications, but in the main communications to your customer, you're just adding a little tidbits of why they can trust you. So now as the guide, you're going to be introducing a plan to your customer on how they can do business with you. So by introducing a plan to your customers, you're kind of eliminating any excuse of confusion that they might have. So as Peter kind of mentioned before, if a customer is confused, they might not actually make a purchase from you. So what you want to do is create a simple plan that they can follow step by step to actually make a purchase from you. So with this plan, you kind of want to make it as easy as possible. So usually 3 to 5 steps is best. 3 is optimal. Just because, again, we want to make it as simple and easy as for your customer to follow. And then at the very end of your plan, the last step should be kind of letting your customer visualize how success will look for them. And after we have a plan for them, we want to create a call to action. So people are generally stagnant creatures. They won't make a change unless they're challenged to. So you kind of want to challenge your customers and entice them to make a purchase and take action. So with call to action, there are actually 2 types of calls to action you can include in your messaging. So a direct call to action is for the customers that are ready to make a purchase right away. And so they're kind of, seen on websites, those big buy now or contact us buttons. So that kind of give them a clear and easy step to take to make a purchase from you. And for the transitional call to action is actually for your customers who are interested but not quite ready to make a purchase. So what the point of the transitional call to action is to create that initial point of contact connection with them, and then kind of build and feed into a relationship and add value to your relationship with your customer over time, up until the point they are ready to make a purchase. So an example of a transitional call to action is having them sign up for an email newsletter, or even have them download an information ebook. So the point of the transitional call to action is to add value to your relationship with your customer. And once we have that kind of the plan all set up for your customer, you kind of want to create a vision for your customer for both if they buy your product and if they don't buy your product. So if they don't buy your product or service, they are actually going to experience failure. So we want to create a picture for them, kind of entice them, like you're going to continue to experience these problems and they might even get worse if you don't do business with us. So the fear of losing is actually more motivating than anticipation of gaining. Now, with establishing failure in your story, you don't want to add too much of it that it kind of scares off your customers. So you want to keep your failures short term and minimal. So it's kind of described as like in baking. With baking, you add only a little bit of salt or it's going to be a little off-putting. The same is with failure in your story brand. You only want to put in a little bit so that it's not off-putting to your customers. And on the opposite spectrum, we want to create what life will look like if they do buy your products. So they'll be successful. They'll kind of gain that aspirational identity that we kind of established at the very beginning. So what they kind of want to gain is both external and internal. So we kind of want to create a little bit more. So again, kind of going back to the baking analogy, the success is kind of like flour. You add more flour than salt into your baking. So for your successes, they'll be long-term and short-term, and there'll be more of them as well. And then once we have that all kind of put together, those different components, we can create a brand script. So the nice thing about a brand script, it kind of puts everything together and makes it kind of a cohesive message that you can use across all your marketing. And also the nice thing about the brand script is that because we created those different pieces, we can actually kind of pull it apart and use those different messaging components of the messaging throughout different marketing and communications. So with the brand script, you can use it for newsletters, even your social media, and it has actually even been used as an actual script that people have like filmed videos of their brand script. Now, the brand script is just a template. It can be completely reformatted to kind of fit what works best with your company and your messaging. So with the brand script, it's kind of like an ad libs. I always kind of say it's kind of fill in the blanks. So it's very easy to kind of follow and kind of implement what those 7 steps that you established earlier. And then we have also came up with a brand script for Edge here as well. I just want to kind of read it for everyone here, just so you can kind of really get a feel for how it kind of sounds all together. So at Edge Marketing and Design, we know that you want to be a successful business owner. In order to do that, you need a website that can be found online. The problem is you have an outdated website that is doing nothing but wasting your money and leaving you feeling frustrated. We believe that your website should not only look great, but also generate more sales. We understand you're busy and you shouldn't have to worry about building your website, which is why we have helped hundreds of businesses like yours create websites that attract more customers. Here's how we do it. 1, schedule a meeting. Next, together we develop a plan. And finally, we build a website that attracts more customers. So schedule a meeting to get started. And in the meantime, download our free ebook on 7 common mistakes to avoid when building a website. So you can stop wasting money on a website that doesn't work and instead grow your business online. So I don't know if you guys can kind of pick out how we implemented the 7 steps, if you can kind of see them throughout the brand script. But we did also kind of reformat the brand script as well to kind of fit our messaging as well.
Okay, well, thank you, Katie. And then again, I want to open up, anybody that has a question about any of this. Like, we're providing quite a bit of information here in just a very brief period of time. So if you feel you need to go back to some of these slides, and we definitely make that information available to you as well. Now, just a little bit of a promo here, I guess. Like, we are actually, this slide is outdated. I didn't update it. But we do offer this as a workshop format as well for our clients. So you can do this, you can take this and do this yourself, follow the steps and develop your brand script. And I would highly recommend, if you're interested in that, like try it out and see how far you get and see if that makes sense. But if you feel you need a guide, like have somebody else guide you through the process, then we do offer a workshop that is available. So I just want to make everybody aware of that. So again, no big sales call here, but just to make, just inform you about that opportunity or that option that is available. So in conclusion, if you're confused, you lose. A confused customer says no. We talked about that. Make sure that your customer or your audience, and I know there's a few not-for-profits or like other organizations on there as well. So your customer is not perhaps buying things from you, but they're still the main character in the story. So make sure you make them the hero. This is not about you. Like Katie said, mentioning that your grandfather started the company 65 years ago is important information. But the reality is, and you definitely, you want to use that on your website in the About Us section, for example. But the sad reality is the customer that has this problem, and I kind of make the analogy with the plumber. There's somebody that's looking for a plumber to fix their leaky faucet or like a sewer line. They're not going to be really interested in any of that. They're the number one thing they're interested in is are you able to fix their problem? So again, it's change of mindset, and I've seen thousands of websites, and we can always improve on that. So I would highly recommend, look at your own website and maybe review some of that. See if you don't know your business and you land on your website, like what is the first impression? Do you actually talk about? Do you appeal to the emotions, or are you just giving a big list of features and benefits and services that you provide? So again, full disclosure, we've made all of the above mistakes ourselves over the years. So, and there's nothing to be ashamed of or feel bad about that. It's just being aware of these things. You can make things better, and we believe if you even make very small adjustments, to some of the way you communicate and even how you display information on the website, it could definitely have a really big impact on your on more people actually connecting with you and becoming more, creating more leads for your business. So you always want to be the trusted guide in the story. You know, like you don't, people are not looking for another hero. They are the hero. So, but trust and guidance, that's what most people are looking for. I mean, I still remember when the sell your own home business kind of was developed. You know, you don't need a realtor. Why don't you sell your own home? And a lot of realtors went like, well, this is the end of our business. Like we're going to be without work pretty soon. The reality is, after all these years that those sell your own home companies are out there and they have a place, I'm not criticizing them, but it turns out that 98% of all real estate is still sold through a realtor. So why is that? Well, the reason for that is people are looking for a guide that can help them through the process, so they make sure it gets done the right way. And if you can position yourself as the guide, instead of that also will make your, instead of doing sales or promotions to your clients and asking them for an order or for a donation, you're just guiding them along. You're just a resource person. So when they are ready to make a purchase, like who are they going to go with or who are they going to talk to? Most people will talk to the person in the business that they know and trust, right? And I think we can all relate to that. So that's really important. You know, build this brand messaging guide, like this story brand, like try it out for your organization. You'll be surprised how much you already can fill in from of that template. Like you know your business better than anybody else. So this is a really nice framework to put some of the information in there. Put it on paper, because a lot of this information is maybe in the leaders or the owner's head. Put it on paper, discuss it with your team, and see if that really makes sense. So that's a really helpful feature, we believe. And then filter all your communications through there. You know, whatever you need to write something on the blog or on the next newsletter, whatever it may be. Once you filter that through your central marketing message, it becomes a lot easier to actually come up with content that makes sense and that actually will help you know, promote your brand and actually make sense to the people that you try to communicate with. So again,